Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Modern Living with Dr. Angela. I am so excited to be here today because I have someone who is talking about something very near and dear to my heart, and that is making sure that you are able to get a Christian therapist. Now, we're not talking about me being a pastoral counselor today, but we are 1,000% here about what Dr. Virginia Johnson has to share. So please get cozy because we are about to jump in. Good morning, Dr. Virginia. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I cannot wait to talk to you about Christian Therapist on Demand. But before we do that, can you tell everyone just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My traditional training is that of a licensed neuropsychologist, and as a certified mental health integrative medicine practitioner, and I've been diagnosing and treating various neurocognitive disorders since about 2008. However, as working in corporate healthcare leadership, I noticed that there were two reoccurring themes that arose, and that was one, there was the lack of access to mental health care clinicians, and that just wasn't our problem as an organization, but many organizations were facing that problem. The other issue that we found is that a lot of the individuals calling in and trying to get appointments, they wanted to know whether or not there were any providers who identified as Christian or offered Christian counseling. And so one of the things that I took away during my leadership position in corporate healthcare were that there were two things that were clear. People wanted to speak with the clinician when they were seeking services, as well as there was a need for Christian counselors. And that's where the idea of Christian Therapist on Demand was born. We match people with therapists within minutes, and they're able to incorporate their faith into their counseling experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is awesome. And I can definitely understand that people want to be able to honor their faith. I know that that's important to the people that I talk to. Now, as far as your wanting to be involved in the medical field, is that something that you've always wanted to do? Did you find that as a young person, a teen even, that was your hope and aspiration as well?
Funny is, I think that as a teen, I really didn't have, or as a young teen, that really wasn't my aspirations. Where I grew up, success was basically defined by how big of a funeral you had and how many people had matching T-shirts there. So my goal at that time was just to have the biggest funeral. So no, those weren't my initial goals. However, being around great mentors, I got a chance to grow in who I am. And so as I grew and went away to college, I found that I was inspired by individuals' ability to change. And I found that as the research was developing about neuroplasticity and understanding that where a person is currently and where they can be, that was just amazing to me. And so as I went through undergrad school, I began to have the desire to, wait a minute, let's take advantage of the ability to change. And so I got into the studying of the neurosciences at that time.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for answering that question, because one of the things that I really love to do, and my listeners here on the podcast that also listen to radio, know that they are, I say, enlighten, inspire, and empower. And I believe that is one of the purposes that I am supposed to bring to the forefront, that I am supposed to help people understand that there's more than one purpose in life, that where you start doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you're going to end up if you don't like where you are. And your answer, an impromptu question, and in asking that, boy, did you just inspire someone to say, yeah, I don't want to be here, I want to be over there as well, and I think I'm going to go ahead and step out in that. So thank you so much for inspiring someone with that answer. Now, you have gone on to be an amazing person, and thank you so much for listening to that inner voice, to, Holy Spirit, whatever that prompting, the universe, however you would say that. Thank you for listening to that voice and being that person, because you are an author, you're a speaker, as well as a medical professional. What inspired you to step out and say, not only do I need to do this as far as being in a medical setting, but I need to go out and share as a speaker. I need to be an author so that I can reach those people that perhaps will never come to a medical practice, but I still need to reach out and touch them. How did you come about the determination to do those two aspects of what you do?
Well, one of the things that I found is that the same God that I worship in church is the same God of the lab, right? He's the same God of the molecule. And although many people may approach, they think of religion and science as being separate, throughout my training, I've always seen them as complementary. Because one of the things that I found is that those foundational principles in the Word always aligned with that part of neuroplasticity, that neuroscience that I was always attracted to. And so to me, mixing faith as well as mixing science, I just sort of had a knack for it, just an understanding of the human mind and its functions and how it interplays with the Word of God. And so it has always just been, it had become a passion to equip individuals with the tools and resources to rewire their brain for greater joy, peace, and success. And one of the things that I found in just going through training, there are, whether there's some health principles or whether it's as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So understanding these various proverbs and being able to say, wait a minute, that aligns with the cognitive behavioral therapy. And so those being able to see all of the alignment between various therapies and various theories has caused me to look at emotional first aid through that lens. And so whether it's the assessment and treatment recommendations or just helping people to improve their functioning and reduce their stress to get the relief that they're looking for emotionally, physically, spiritually, those principles were at the forefront of my mind with regards to treatment and recommendations.
I love what you said, that emotional first aid, and that is so important. And especially I think now with everything that is going on in the world, the everything that is going on in the world, and because people can choose if it's this or if it's that, male or female, this country or abroad, there's something going on in everyone's world right now, and that emotional first aid, I like that. Now, Christian Therapist on Demand, can you tell us a little bit about this wonderful program that you guys have established and is available to the general public?
Yeah, sure. Christian Therapist on Demand is an online teletherapy platform where we connect therapists to counselors across the country. So individuals are able to connect with a therapist, do video calls, regular calls, text messages, video messages. All of these sessions take place using their app or using a smart device. At that point, they can incorporate, again, their faith into their counseling, and they are immediately connected to a therapist. All of their sessions take place there on the phone. There are resources there, worksheets, podcasts, various tools to help people with experiencing the best life that God has for them. And so being able to connect with a therapist to learn some tangible tools, if they find themselves sort of being stuck in a rut and having difficulty moving past various things, whether it's self-sabotaging behavior, addictions, trauma, various things that they may be going through, then there's someone there who would be able to assist them through their healing journey.
I love that. And you're right. Healing is a journey. I love that, Dr. Virginia. Now, for someone who may be saying, I like it. It sounds really great. But my grandmother is a senior now, and she may not know anything about telehealth. She doesn't have a smartphone, or, she doesn't have a laptop. You mentioned calling on the phone. Would it be as simple as a conversation like she would have with one of her friends, a simple phone call?
It's through an app. So if, say, for instance, you have the tech-savvy grandchild who is there, or one of their children, it's as simple as opening up the app, then setting up a profile for her, and then scheduling the appointment. And while in the app, just clicking on the button and the phone appointment is set, when the provider calls them, they'll just answer the phone call, just like they would any other phone call, as long as they're logged in.
I love it. Yes, that is awesome. And I do suggest that everyone do that. My mother is a senior, and you're right. Just having that person, if they're unfamiliar or if they're a little nervous, could you do this for me? Of course. And once it's set, it's kind of, one and done kind of thing where it's there. And then you can show them how to maneuver through, and it ends up being a very easy thing to do. Thank you for clarifying that. Now, why is Christian Therapist on Demand unique? Now, I can think of one reason why it's unique, but I want to give you an opportunity. There are so many apps out there for us to choose from. There's so many folks saying that we should come to their side or use their app. What makes your app different, or what makes it stand out amongst some similar services?
Yeah, so one of the things that immediately stand out is there in its name, Christian Therapist on Demand. Sometimes people may think of they're thinking that, wait a minute, is it okay to have Jesus and a therapist too, right? Like, how can I utilize my faith or something that's very important to me and still get access to services, connecting with someone with similar values to where maybe they don't feel judged, or maybe they feel like, wait, I'm going to need something that will allow me to utilize the best parts of me. And I want to be able to utilize that as strength indicators for full-on healing. And so they're able to do that in the Christian Therapist on Demand setting. One of the things that's also important is that we also provide group. People are able to connect with other believers who may be going through similar things and who are at different processes in their healing journey. They may be able to encourage someone along the process as well as receive some encouragement. And then also there's also couples therapy for people who are looking for premarital counseling, as well as those individuals who are having, they've reached a rough spot, and they're just needing someone to connect with that would help them through the process that they're in, as well as those people who they're like, hey, things are going fine. I just need tools to help us to continue to continue to go in the right direction. So there's a little bit of something for everyone there on the platform, as well as the resources that are available there on the website that are free to anyone who becomes a part of the CTOD community.
I love it. I absolutely love it, because for so many platforms, they don't have the couples availability. It's just individual. And I love the fact that you guys were mindful enough to include couples, and not just couples that were going through something, but folks that wanted more of enrichment, or just to make sure that they were on the right path, that they didn't, fall off of this great ride that they were on, but that they were able to really do those, get those resources that were going to help nourish their relationship. I love that you have done that. Now, one thing that folks talk about when it comes to choosing doctors or choosing the therapist or someone to assist is the word money. People always say, okay, let's get on to it. Tell me how much this is going to cost me. So down that vein, I want to ask Dr. Virginia, therapists for some people would be considered expensive, not for everyone, but for some. How do people afford Christian therapists on demand? Do you process health insurance? As long as they have a credit card, they can take care of it. How do you address payment?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's one of the biggest hindrances that you hear why a person may not seek help. Traditional therapy can be expensive. It costs anywhere from I think your average cost is between $125 and $150 per session. At Christian Therapists on Demand, our costs are generally between $65 and $95 for a weekly session. Financial aid is available for those who qualify, in addition to receiving a 3-day free trial. Now, we do not accept insurance. However, because our providers are licensed providers, they get a receipt, and they can submit that receipt to their insurance company to request reimbursement. So, but more than that, I think that a person seeing that when it's time to invest in yourself, I think that taking a step back, sometimes you know what, hey, maybe I won't go to my local coffee shop so much, and I'm going to, instead of going 5 days a week, maybe I'll go 2 days a week and make coffee at home and invest in myself the remainder of that, the money that I would have spent to invest in myself. Because when a person invests in themselves, it's the benefit not just to them, but also to their family, to their environment and community around them. So I would just encourage someone to invest in yourself, because a lot of times one of the things that we find is that sometimes you can look at children, right, and they may have braces on, but then you look at the parent and their teeth, maybe they hadn't taken the time to get their teeth fixed. Well, we as parents generally will invest in our children, will invest in other people before we even invest in ourselves. And so deciding that, you know what, I am going to this time to invest in me, to make sure that I'm okay, so I can better serve the people who are within my sphere of influence.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that statement could never be truer, Dr. Virginia. So many times people do not invest in themselves. They do not understand how important it is. I know that I personally, when speaking, I use that example of when we take a flight, and we're reminded to put our oxygen mask on first before we assist the person next to us. And that's the same thing, going and talking with your therapist. That person can really be the oxygen that you need that day to be able to share in a safe place, in a safe environment, and to be able to talk to someone who has your best interest at heart. I tell you, thank you for reminding someone of that they are never wasting their money when they are investing in themselves. They are never too expensive. Everything is just right when it comes to your mental health. Thank you for that reminder. We cannot stress that enough. Now, I love. I went over to your website really quickly, and those of you who are listening to us live, you know that you can click the website, the link that is in the description, ChristianTherapistOD.com. And I jumped over to your page. I love it. I love the colors. I love how it's so interactive. It is easy to maneuver. I love that you have Android and iPhone. Yay, you guys, even though I'm a little partial to the iPhone. But, but you do have it available for both, and that's really important. And I love your slogan. You can have Jesus and a therapist too. Now, I love that. And you touched on that a little bit earlier And that is, so many times Christians have a hard time. You know, we know our scripture. It says, I have the mind of Christ. It says, I am blessed going in and blessed going out. For someone who may have missed that part, can you remind them, what does that mean? How can you have Jesus and a therapist too?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times Christians experience a narrative, whether it's from fellow believers, themselves, the church, or from wherever, that suggests that seeking mental health support from healthcare professionals would indicate that there's a lack of faith or rejection of God's healing power. And so part of the mission with CTOD is that, wait a minute, seeking professional help is like an act of faith, because we know that God desires for us to be our best. And sometimes the difficulty of seeking help would require a person to step outside of that comfort zone. And that can, again, be a real act of faith. And just knowing that it's entirely appropriate to combine faith in Jesus with professional therapy, because I believe that therapy can move us towards that fullness of life that God's intended for us to lead. And it helps us to release burdens that's not ours to carry. And I think that the therapy provides a safe place for us to explore more of what that means to be us that God created us to be. Sometimes people take on those burdens, they take on these beliefs, and they're carrying things that wasn't intended for them. And so being able to sit down with someone and unpack some of that, they're able to see that in a way that allows them to be free from those things.
Oh, I love it. Yes, to be free from those things. And thank you. We cannot stress enough that please do not limit yourself. Do not allow someone else's issues to keep you from stepping out and getting the assistance that you need. And you are so right. Now, I want to kind of touch on another bit along that same vein, and that is the stigma. Do you think that people worry about the stigma of getting therapy, even though they're able to do this from the privacy of their own home? Do you think they're still worried about stigma?
I think that there is still a part of the community and whole, and just in society in general, that there could be a stigma associated with mental health. They may approach it as if it's something that is scary, something that, someone is crazy, right? It's something that someone doesn't want to be associated with. And so there is still that piece of a stigma. However, being able to access services through your phone in the comfort of your own home when it's convenient for you, I think that that's critical for a person who may be not wanting to go out and go to the therapist's office and wonder, is anyone watching me? People have these thoughts about that, but they'll be able to access their services right from their home. And I think the overall thing is that mental health is a key part to our well-being and our functioning. And so our minds and our bodies aren't separate. And so it's important that if someone is experiencing say some depression or some anxiety, knowing that God has designed us to be holistic beings, right? Mind, body, and spirit, and caring for our mind is part of caring for our body. And just like we would encourage another believer to just leave their broken leg untreated, you'll be fine, just mental health is just that aspect of our wider health, right, and well-being. So in that sense, you wouldn't feel stigma to go and get your leg adjusted, right, to get that broken leg fixed. It's no different.
That's true. And, you're right. And I think for someone, you just really put it into perspective. There's no way you would walk around on that injured leg or that injured arm, but yet we are so willing to allow our loved ones to walk around injured mentally just because we're fearful of what someone else is going to think. And I personally think that this is the answer. You know, now you're in the privacy of your own home. And you are so right. Dr. Virginia, I remember people asking, especially those that have some standing in the community, that would ask, do you have a back entrance? Or do you have the after hours accessibility? Because they did not want to be seen. You know, they did not want to have to, in their words, kind of parade through the lobby to get to my floor. They wanted that privacy, that anonymity. So you're right. I think this is the answer, to be able to just go into your bedroom or your family room, or whatever, close the door and just have that time with your therapist. That this is truly, this could be the difference. I love it. Now, I want to, before I let you go, because we have about 2 minutes left, you are an author. You are a speaker. You are a medical doctor. I love that. I want to give you an opportunity, if you will, since this is a show about books as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the book that is available from you for someone who says, I like what Dr. Virginia Johnson is putting down, I want her book? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. The book is, there's an ebook that's available, and that is the Trauma Thriver Kit, and it's emotional first aid revolutionized, together in response to a few conferences that I participated in, and I wanted individuals to walk away with something, some kind of a resource, and that's what you can find at the THEHPS.me, and that's the Human Performance Strategist.me. So THEHPS.me, and there you can find information as to how to obtain a copy of the ebook.
I love it, because I'm pretty sure if someone's listening and they're saying, yes, I want everything that I can possibly get. So today you now have a resource that you have 2 resources that you can utilize. You can find a therapist. You can go to the other site and download some information there as well. We have you guys set for the week. You are stepping out into your new self, and I love it. My last question for you, Dr. Virginia, and that is, what is a piece of advice or a quick tip, if you will, that you can leave with our listeners who want to find a little bit more success in life, who want to step out in faith, if you will? Do you have a quick tip for them?
Yes, I do, but I just want to first clarify that I am not a medical doctor with regards to an MD. My training is with regards to as a neuropsychologist, and I am certified as an integrative medicine provider, meaning that I utilize health, natural principles, those kinds of things to bring about relief from disease, and discomfort, those kinds of things. But more information, you can find that there on the website.
Thank you, and I apologize. Thank you so much for that clarification. We are out of time now, Dr. Virginia, but thank you so much for coming on and spending time with us here today. Listeners, if you want to know more, please go to the website, ChristianTherapistOD.com, and you can find all of the resources that Dr. Virginia Johnson has shared with us here today. Thank you again, Dr. Virginia, for coming on and spending time with us here on Modern Living with Dr. Angela.
Well, thank you, Dr. Angela. You be blessed.
Be blessed. And listeners, thank you as well. May your mental health be part of your best health. Until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.